How do we handle sitting in kid furniture when we are adult-sized people? This is Open Mind Alexander Technique. I'm Jess. This is part 2 of looking at how are we interacting with, carrying, and being around small children. In the previous video, we talked about picking up and carrying a child or a bag full of child stuff. So check that one out if you're interested in that and haven't seen that one already. So we're going to start looking at the process of being a whole lot closer to the floor than we are generally expected to be in current, at least, like American adult society. So first we're going to talk a little bit about what's different about sitting in a chair that is toddler-sized versus an adult-sized chair. So in my adult-sized chair here, the bending process is still really very similar to what I'm going to use to go onto the low stool. Bending in hips, knees, and ankles. If I need to, if I'm not quite sure where the chair is, or if I needed to just pull it closer to myself as I did there, I can pause on the way down. Hip joints, knees, and ankles are active and bending. And then once I get to the height of the chair, then I reset from my hip joints. I'm really breaking it down right now so you can see this two-part movement. Once you get that down, you can really blend them together and it gets a lot smoother. But it's really a two-step process. So the process of standing up is get your weight over your feet and unbend your legs. Get my weight over my feet and unbend my legs. That was it. I've achieved standing. On the way down, I bend my legs and then adjust my weight so that I'm sitting. That's the process. What about on this thing? Well, first of all, I cannot keep my heels in contact with the floor when I go into a low squat. So what I find is that I'm going to have much better balance and it's going to be more comfortable on my joints if I take a pretty wide stance when I go into a low squat. So from the front here, if I have my legs at my normal standing width and I try to get down to this, I can do it, but I'm going to kind of plop the last couple inches because that's a long way to go and my heels really want to come off the ground. I could go into a squat that allows my heels to come off the ground, but then I have to scoot way back in order to get to the actual stool and be able to sit on it. Another option is to go wider. And this one I find is going to be a lot more consistent and usable for a lot more people. It's also much more comfortable in my torso and my belly because now I've made room for my belly in between my thighs here, which are at a very tight angle and would really press on my belly in a way that's uncomfortable. And then in order to lean forward from that, I'm going to end up having to curl in my spine to get around the fact that my legs are in the way. So if I go wider right from the start, first of all, I'll be able to move my heels back compared to my center of balance. So I don't need to go nearly as far forward in order to get my weight over my feet, which is part 1 of standing. My weight is over my feet already. I didn't have to go that far. And then I unbended my legs. Same on the way down, staying pretty wide, I can just go straight down. My heels have come off the floor, but I don't have to then go really far back in order to reach the stool because I've made room for the stool in between my feet in the first place. And it's a lot smoother, it's a lot more comfortable, it's a lot more stable. Once I'm here, being able to lean down and do something like interact with a kid who's on the floor playing is a lot easier to do when I'm allowing room in between my knees for my torso to bend. Now, not everyone is going to have the hip flexibility to be able to do this very easily. It's mainly hips. Knees are a component. You can kind of get around that by keeping your heels farther out. So then as you go forward, most of that bend is in the hips rather than the knees, but you can't really get around the hip portion of this. So if you are a person who does not have a lot of flexibility in your hips, one thing that you can do is find a stool situation set up if you're going to be there frequently. Like if you, I don't know, if you have grandkids who are, coming by your house twice a week or something to watch them, you can do something like have a kind of kneeling situation, either with the stool or in the front, to be able to kind of go into a kneel. There's a few different ways that you can adapt this. So just know that adaptations are fine and you're allowed. So one that can work really well for people is if having a tight angle is going to be painful if you're there for a while, switch off which leg has the tight angle to be able to reach down. And remember that you're still rotating around your hip joints. Another option that you can do is have a cushion set up and just have like a throw pillow from your couch that you can stick underneath your bottom so that when you're kneeling, there isn't quite such a tight angle under there. So you're effectively putting a cushion, I think you'll still be able to see this in frame. Putting a cushion in between your shins and your thighs. Like that. That keeps you up a little bit more because there's something in between, and that can also be another solution for this. But the main thing to remember is that your spine is going to be a lot happier if you're not asking it to bend and put pressure on the front of the spine consistently for long periods of time. So, the other aspect of working with low furniture and being down here a lot is, how do you get back up, especially when you're carrying something? So here we go back to my pretend toddler, my huge weighted blanket. So if I need to hold this, say for example, the child has come running to me and they've just hit their knee on something and I need to then pick them up and carry them somewhere. So okay, child, and I can pick up the kid and put them on my lap for a second. We're good here. I've used mainly arms for that. It's an arm workout. Yep. Having kids is an arm workout. So once we've picked up kid and put them on the lap, now what? How do you stand up with this? Make sure, first of all, if you can, as long as you don't have, screaming child refusing to cooperate with this, get one leg on either side, either right in front of you, so you can use two arms, which is a great way to handle this and distribute this across multiple arms. Or if you're going to be on the side, make sure that you got one leg on each side of you so you can hold them in. And then just know that you're going to have to really use your arm to support the kid's back pretty firmly as you go to get up. Because when you need to move your weight over your feet in order to be able to stand, I have just tilted the child. And that's fine. Most of them, the vast majority of children actually really think that's fun. But just know that that's coming and you're going to have to use your arms accordingly. So this is a good time to use two arms, so holding the kid to your front of your torso, and then you can get up. Another option is on the side. Hold this in as you go up, and then you can readjust from there. Final thing I want to look at here, what about having a kid on your lap when you're on an adult-sized chair? I'm going to put this at an angle so you can kind of see from side and front. Here's my pseudo-child. So if I have a kid on my lap and they're facing away and they're leaning against me, as many kids do, listen, if you're the chair, then you're the chair and you need to act like a chair. How do we get support from this? Scoot your butt all the way back, all the way to the back of the chair so that something leaning against you from the front has support from the actual structure of the chair behind you. If you are sitting even a couple inches forward, or from the side, you can see that better. So I'm only a little bit forward from the back of the chair. Here's all the way back. Here's only a little forward. The second I need to lean back from here, watch what happens. I had to curve my back in order to do it. Immediately, I notice that my ribs are pressing down into my belly. I can't breathe as well. And I know from experience that if I'm here for more than a couple minutes, my back is going to start to hurt. So, if you are sitting on a grown-up chair and have a child who is leaning on you, or if they're even facing you with one leg on each side and they're really leaning in for nice, cozy, snuggly time, get support from the back of the chair and actually use that. Depending on the back of the chair that you're using, like this one, for example, it does actually slant slightly backward. So I'm going as far back as I can, really shoving my butt back there, and then I'm allowing just a very gentle curve along my whole spine. I'm not going to try to put that very tightly into any one spot in my spine, because the more vertebrae that I can distribute a bend or a curl through, the less each individual in-between space is going to have to bend and take pressure. So, lengthening along that curve, being a well-distributed banana with my back, remembering that my back still goes up to my ears. It's where my spine attaches to my skull. And then from there, the way that I look down in order to interact with, hello, small child, or, a cat or small dog that's on your lap, anything that is on your lap and you need to look at, a lot of that tilt can actually come from way high up on your spine, around the level of your ears. I don't need to be here. This isn't necessary. I can see this just fine. Right now, I can actually see all the way down to here with just my eyeballs. This level, which would be like, I have a kid sitting on my lap, or there's a cat here or something, that's fine. I don't need to put a big bend into my neck, which again is just part of my spine. I don't need to put a big bend there. I can see just fine. So, remembering that my back still goes up to my ears and I have this soft nestled connection all the way up, it's going to help me in order to be a nice, cozy, solid surface for the small child or pet that is on my lap. I find they really do respond to that. Small children and pets tend to like me a lot. I think a lot of it is I am regulated and they feel that. They can notice that my voice is steady and that the nonverbal communication that I'm giving and just the way it feels to be in physical contact with me feels stable and nice. So I would encourage all of you, as you're interacting with tiny toddler-sized furniture or adult-sized furniture with a toddler on your lap, to consider the way that you're organizing yourself actually still relevant with this. Even if all of your attention, of course, is going towards the other creature in the room, you're still there. You still exist. And the way that you organize yourself will really help to keep that interaction enjoyable for everybody.